Are you going to have a quorum? Are you going to have a quorum?
Not me, I can't vote.
Oh, okay.
Great. Well, welcome everybody. I hope you guys had a good month and you're enjoying your summer. Since we don't have a quorum and our chair and our vice chair are not here, I'm happy to kind of lead us through the agenda if that's, or unless you want to do that, Emily, or.
I will leave that to you, Pete. Thank you.
Okay. The first item up is something that requires a quorum to approve. So, and we can't vote on the adoption of the agenda. So we'll take the agenda as written. And the approval of the minutes, these are revised minutes in format that the city recorder's office wanted them in. And I sent these along to Brian beforehand, and he's like fine with the format, and he appreciated the additional guidance from the city recorder's office. So they're a little more detailed. They include more complete sentences, etc. And so the June 14th minutes are what are in the packet, but we'll put these on the next agenda so we can approve them. and table these for now. How's that sound to you guys?
That sounds good.
Okay. I don't see anybody signed up for public comment, and nobody emailed. So that takes us into old business, which is a discussion about the street tree inventory project. Just to give you guys an update on this, NRC has been suggesting a street tree inventory for some time now. I ran this past Public Works Director John Lewis this week and a Community Development Director Aquila, Aquila Herdravich. She's our Community Development Director, and they're supportive of us moving ahead with a limited street tree inventory. When we discussed this at the last meeting, Sam suggested that we concentrate primarily on ash trees as kind of a pilot. And then I did a little more digging into what Oregon Department of Forestry provides, because it needs city support and guidance in order for us to be able to go through the Oregon Department of Forestry and use their tree plotter software. And this software is widely used throughout the state through a grant that the state got. And I was going to share my screen and show you what I've learned so far, which isn't much. And then I was going to talk about some of the initial steps. So let me do that. Let's see. So Oregon Department of Forestry has a website which is very basic and is more of a jumping off point to the more detailed information about the tree plotter inventory software. So the tree inventory provides information on individual trees, and this is primarily focused on public street trees. If we start to do this, it'll be a baseline of information that we can use to track tree location, first and foremost, species, age, and condition, as well as other information depending on how much data we collect. That the app that this program uses can be downloaded and used on a smartphone. So since this would be principally volunteers who are trained, who are collecting the data, they could potentially use their smartphones to collect data. And then that information would be uploaded into a database that the city has. And that database is what Oregon Department of Forestry sets up for us. And then it's cloud-based. So the data is shared to the cloud. There's, on this website I'm showing you, there's 3 videos. They're each an hour long, led by Kristen Ramstead, former community assistance forester with the Oregon Department of Forestry. So if you have time, jump in and look at that. At your leisure, I would recommend that as homework. And then the other thing on this website is the actual tree plotter map for the entire state, which is set up through the partnership that ODF has with the company that did this. And I forget the name of that company, but the website will be up indefinitely, I believe, through a data sharing agreement. And right now, if you zoomed in on Oregon City, the only tree that's currently on the inventory is the ginkgo tree down at the end of the Oregon Trail Interpretive Center that we, and that's listed here. But if you click on that, you'll notice that these little tabs pop up, with details, and I'm not logged in, so I can't see those details. But they are the details are to do with the size and species and condition and that sort of thing. But also you can it'll calculate eco benefit for you based on standard measures and provide street tree, and it's also shareable information. So that's kind of where the data would be for the state. And then we would be able to have the data on our own GIS system as well. So I was going to switch over to what we currently have on the city's GIS system, which is OCMap. Oh. Okay, 1 second. I got to share the screen, make sure it's working. And what did I just do?
We see it now. Or I see it now.
Yeah, and I've lost my screen. I've minimized it. Great. Okay, so you can see that. So you can see the city website, the GIS. Oh,
yeah, that's working.
Okay, good. So here's an example where a newer development GIS staff did go in and plot what data was available through as-built plans, which are as-built plans are what are recorded after development has been completed and all the public infrastructure is in place. And the developers are required to provide the city with the final as-built drawings, which in these days now that includes a tree plan. And normally when we look at this data, right now the icon is just showing a little orange tree, which indicates a street tree. And then in the attribute data, you'll notice that that tree is what did I just do? Pull that up. What happened? Okay. Village Green Zelkova planted in 2017, which was when the Edgewater apartment complex was completed. But there's not a whole lot of other data there. There's no diameter, even though there's room for spread and height and that sort of thing. But we can adapt the data and share it with ODF. Right now, you wouldn't be able to tell where ash trees are in Oregon City using the GIS system. Our GIS analyst, Chris Dunlop, I talked to him this morning. And he said that we know we have data points for about, I think, 12,000 trees, not all street trees, but trees in parks as well. So, and about 2,000 of those 12,000 trees, we actually have some attribute data for. Everything else is just a point on a map. But we can upload that information to ODF's format and then start to fill in the blanks using the tree plotter format. So that's the kind of the tech side of it. The tech side of it is doable, and I'm not a techie, so I'm kind of just relaying that. It's something that the city can support. And traditionally, in order to find out where some of the older ash trees in the city are, we would have to comb through some of the old subdivisions going back to 1980s. Starting in 1980s when they started scanning engineering plans and loading them up to the city website. So we do have what are, I would say a spotty amount of tree plans. Some of those tree plans indicate species. Some of the tree plans are correct, and sometimes what's in the field is not what's there. And because of field changes last minute by the developers, landscapers, and various other things. So anyway, doing the project would allow us to ground truth a lot of this. At this point, I have no idea how long it would take, but my feeling is that the scope of this right now, it would be a fairly limited scope. And we can certainly focus on ash trees, and in the process get a feeling for the software and how to use it, and also start to develop a base of volunteers who are interested in doing this project. City staff's availability to guide the project is pretty limited. So it would be a fairly big lift for the NRC to help with volunteer effort and that sort of thing. But if we're only going to be looking at, let's say, a handful of ash trees spread across, let's say, 5 or 6 subdivisions that actually planted them, in addition to ash trees in parks, which we actually do have data for, which is good, then that's a good start. So it's nice to know that we have the support of Public Works, and I haven't learned yet what else that they would provide support for other than through GIS, because GIS is currently housed under the Public Works Department over there. So that's great. We get great tech support there, but getting the data correctly inventoried and then getting it into a format that we can use is going to be tricky. So I told Dion Lewis that we would start to hash out a basic scope of work for this, and then start plugging in some timelines as we move forward. I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick. Does anybody have any questions about this at this point? I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, thanks for the update, Pete. I think was this discussed at our last meeting or?
Very briefly.
Okay.
And
yeah. And is there any like local ODF folks that would be available for this kind of thing, or is it's just mostly volunteers?
They're in Salem. They have 2 staff for the whole state in their urban forestry program, but there's also this is where Sam would be helpful, because Oregon Community Trees has some experience using this program, I believe, and helping other cities do it. I don't know which ones. And I know other cities have done inventories using other programs as well, but the flexibility and it's a fairly robust program, and it's fairly easy to use. So our GIS guys, Chris, was like, yeah, we should use that if it's there. It's rather than try to create an app ourselves, which they have done before. They've done it. The city staff who run the GIS have actually produced an app for people to use on their phones before, but they were using it to inventory water meters so that they could figure out what people's water meters were constructed out of and what kind of materials they were and what condition they were in. So we can do it, but this is more standardized. Plus, it has the advantage of becoming much part of a bigger data set for the state.
Mm-hmm.
So that they can actually model things like rainwater infiltration and stormwater benefits and that sort of thing. So there's that aspect to it as well. So I think this ODF's grant was awarded in like 2021 or so, and it goes for 3 years. So it's good. if we kick this off and we start inventorying, I don't know. I think I'm not sure if we manage to get it done this summer or we start next summer, or in the spring, because there's a little bit of work left to be done here as far as teeing this up as a volunteer project. But as you guys are in the community, what's your sense that it would be something that people would want to do? Because I know it's been done like scout troops have used this app. It's fairly easy to use. High school kids and even middle school kids have been able to use this app.
I wonder too, like if there's, the horticulture program at DCC, if there'd be students there who could like use this for hours or towards something that they're doing for class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they have the horticulture program over CCC, and they have an arboriculture certificate over there as well. But I'm not sure if they're teaching at that moment. But there's probably some interest over there. What the city we can probably do, like when the city does any kind of public involvement project, we can help with the recruitment and getting the word out and via the website and other mechanisms. And then just see how many people we get. Maybe that would be the first step. And then we can enter into a period of training so that staff and volunteers can all get trained together. And then start in on the actual inventory, depending on when the schedule is. As part of that training, ODF recommends that the people take some online basic tree ID classes, and there's some resources available to do that as well, so that we can collect that data. But if we're only looking for ash trees at the outset, we can probably focus on that first and foremost. I heard that the ash epidemic is moving a little bit slower, but I haven't heard that from anybody who's like a forester. I've just heard that sort of on the grapevine. Right now it's still kind of confined to the Forest Grove area, but which is good news. It's not moving as quickly as they originally thought. But that said, that's not a reason to delay the street tree inventory. It's something that we can kick off and start. And yeah, so that's the basic part of that. I'm thinking like I could walk around with 5 subdivisions in the space of half a day and quickly, tell how many ash trees were around that were still standing and that sort of thing. But I got to do some digging, dig out these old street tree plans and search through them and see what was planted. There's some redwood ashes and another type of ash that are frequently planted in subdivisions, and then there's the ones down on the river in Clackamas Park and in Park Place Park. There's ashes as well, and you guys probably have a pretty good idea of where ashes are in your neighborhood. So that's good. That's moving forward.
What were the questions that you had, P? Were those like just general questions or?
At this point, this is very open-ended, I'm afraid. What we need to do is draw up a scope of work, and I think we should probably, table this to the next meeting and come back with an actual draft scope of work. When staff's had a little bit more time to do more research on subdivisions, and we can share with you the data that GIS has, which is a little more fine-grained, because they had like 2,000 data points for trees they did have. So that would be something to share with you all. But I only saw that information this morning, so it's early days still. So a basic general timeline for the project is something that, we would work up and get input from Public Works on as well. And kind of define a project area. And I think the project area would be kind of spread throughout the city, if we're looking just at ash. So I don't have anything to share just yet. That's a graphic. A lot of this right now is kind of like what we're trying to find out what we don't know. And that's a pretty big chunk of information. Have any of you guys ever done an urban tree inventory or participated in anything like that before?
I mean, I did like very basic surveys at my college campus, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah. The closest thing I did to it was working on a gypsy moth project in Fort Collins, because we were using pheromone traps to trap gypsy moth, and it was a really dense coverage of traps throughout the city because they had a lot of infestation in the when was this? It was the early 1990s. So that was, we had to record DBH and overall tree canopy condition and that kind of thing, and species. And they were pretty indiscriminate, those gypsy moth.
Yeah, Pete, I've participated in some really substantial studies for Asian longhorn beetle in New York City, Central Park, in New England, particularly Worcester, Massachusetts, and some other places. Really big tree survey operations, generally focused around tree inspection, particularly because of Asian longhorn beetle's signs that it leaves. It requires a pretty human-focused process.
Yeah.
Full of obviously mapping, and then very focused training and giant team leading to look at every inch of a tree, because the way that Asian longhorn beetle leaves its signs. So we have experience in that, on this committee in this city. If we were to get to that point, I don't know that this project is there. But yeah, it's been done. We don't have to reinvent the wheel if some of these problems come to this city.
Yeah, that's right. And ODF staff are available to train as well.
Yeah.
Which is good. So there's going to be some coordination through ODF in the city that I'll need to move forward with and report back on as well. But that's good to know, Brian. Thank you. That sounds like that sounds like, a really, really big, significant project. So this would be a lot smaller, but cool.
Yeah. I guess I just want to share that I can be a resource that has led 7-figure teams of government resources to affect some of these situations, and I'd be happy to advise in any capacity that
cool
needs.
Sounds good. I appreciate that. All right.
I had a quick question, and I'm sorry if this was discussed in one of the meetings that I had to leave for earlier. But with the primary intention of using this software and cataloging the ash trees, is it to participate in a broader study of emerald ash borer? Is that the main reason, or is it to identify what we have. And so then like there can be kind of more targeted either treatments or replacements or to get funding, like, because in order to get funding, we need to say that, this is what we had and this is now what the picture looks like. Like, is it all of those equally, or like, what is the kind of main priority?
Yeah. I think there's definitely a value to having a street tree inventory, no matter when you start it. What Sam had kind of alluded to was having an inventory of ash trees in particular would be important in case there is a widespread impact to the ash tree population in Oregon City, and the city seeks federal funding to reimburse property owners for the loss of those trees.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Is that something that's available? Like, does Oregon State offer reimbursement on private property for ash trees that are infected with EAB?
Maybe not private property, but potentially public property.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Sam had said, FEMA money potentially could be available if it was a real problem, but we don't even know if it is yet. That's the thing.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, we don't know how extensive it's going to be. But that said, we are slowly moving towards, including trees as a inventoried public asset anyway. I mean, we inventory every other type of thing in the public right of way in a city park, whether it's living or not. I'm talking about infrastructure, but this is part of the green infrastructure side of things, which, is less well understood by the Public Works Department, but is definitely something that they would benefit from because of stormwater management requirements for shading and that sort of thing. So it's tied to our pollutant discharge permit. One of the many, many recommendations coming out of that is that the city should have a pretty good idea of where its shaded areas are and where they're not. That's a little more broad canopy type goal. This is much more focused on individual trees. But, there's room in the data. The first step is getting the data point in there, from what I understand. And then you can build on that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there seems like so many important reasons. I didn't know if there was just like, one specific that was stand out, but yeah, lots of good reasons to have a street tree inventory.
Yeah. And I mean, we didn't really have a good GIS system until I think, well, I would say good, but early 2000s. So, we had some limited mapping, but certainly nothing as public facing and as robust and full of information as our current system. So it's really helpful for people who want to find out more about their neighborhoods and what is there. So I guess I want to step back and say, hi, Dave, and welcome to your first meeting.
Thank you.
It's good to have you aboard.
It's good to be here.
Hi, Dave.
Yeah. So it's great. And now Brian's here. We have a quorum, so we can actually go back and approve the minutes if you want.
I apologize for my tardiness, and
no worries.
Thank you for catching us up. And I think this is great. We should approve the quorum.
Yeah. The minutes, as you know, Brian, are the revised ones from the city recorder, kind of, and a little more complete, in terms of the sentences and what's in there. It sounds as if that's something that can be accommodated, right, moving forward.
Yeah, that's right. So I have the template and can certainly operate within the parameters that they've laid out. and I'm happy to do that. So I'm working on catching up for this meeting on the things that I missed, and certainly recording what we're talking about.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Brian. Thanks. And I thought it really is helpful to have another person recording the content of the meetings, because I go back and I'm like, oh wow, that's right, we talked about that as well. So it keeps the contiguity of what we want to move forward in the limelight here. So do you guys want to approve the minutes? The revised minutes, I should say.
Yeah. Does one of us need to like move to approve the minutes or something? Or
No, you can just say aye.
I approve the minutes.
I also approve the minutes.
All right. Minutes are approved. Thank you. So the rest of the meeting is devoted to communications, and I'm happy to share with you a little bit of information, but I don't really have a whole lot to share on the natural resources front. I can give you a little bit of an overview of what's going on development-wise, as a lot of what you see right now out in the city is construction, but we in planning are not very busy right now because a lot of those projects are stuff that went through the process already a few years back. Like the courthouse is under construction. Willamette Falls Hospital Oncology Wing has actually received its certificate of occupancy. The new apartment complex out there on Beaver Creek Road, the Timberview, it's about 160 units of multifamily over there. That got its certificate of occupancy. And that's a big deal because that project was first approved in 2014. It's been through multiple owners, a lot of financial issues. And it was also has not just the city reviewing it, but the county as well, because Beaver Creek Road is a county right of way. So it took a long time to get the engineering right. They also had to build some pretty significant pipes in Beaver Creek Road and get water from places. So anyway, if you're heading down Beaver Creek Road, take a look at that. And then the multifamily that's under construction over Maple Lane Road and Thayer Road is going pretty gangbusters. I know they're on track to get their get C of O's hopefully this winter. What else went on at City Commission? Oh, thank you. Now I remember. The heritage tree on South End Road got approved on consent agenda by the City Commission on Monday night, and the plaque's already been ordered, the little heritage tree plaque. So that should be arriving soon, and I can get it to the property owner so they can display it. We don't have any new heritage tree applications. So it's been a little slow in that regard as well. Do you guys have anything you guys want to report?
I was over at the Singer Creek Park today, and it looks really good where they removed a lot of the invasive species. There's a lot of areas that were totally taken over by ivy, and it's creeping back, but it seems to be pretty slow. There's still like a couple big Doug firs that have ivy, alive and kind of high on their trunks. But yeah, it's looking really good over there. It's made. I think
that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a slow time of year for weeds, but yeah, I mean, this time last year, there was just so much more blackberry. That path in the back that kind of leads to like over by where they're having that big construction project. You can actually walk back there now. Before it was totally, there were blackberries coming on, crossing from either sides of the trail. So it's walkable now, which is nice.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good to know. Yeah, so there is another project under construction, but it's early days yet. On Holmes Lane,
Yes, that's the road.
Is that the one?
Yeah. It doesn't dump out right there, but it's like that lot that's kind of like weird, very long, narrow
Yeah,
part.
it's really
It's right
long,
next to
yeah.
it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they just started building the forms for the public road that's going through there that'll connect Mountain View Street to Holmes Lane. And they've got to build that public road before they get any buildings out of the ground. So that's the first thing that has to be done. And then the sidewalks that are going in for that as well. So it'll help with the sidewalk problem along Holmes Lane.
Is that lot, or is that project being, the ownership changing for that one? Did I hear that?
It did change, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, the current developer, I forget their name, but seems a really good guy. He's actively engaging the neighbors on either side and talking to them. Trying to be a good neighbor, which is great. Yeah, that one, it'll be 60 units. It'll look like townhome development, but it'll be clusters of 2, 3, and 4 units. Has a couple of small parks in it. And then I think it'll look pretty good. They're going to have that main road going through there, which will be a standard right of way with 5-foot planter strips and street trees in it, which will be nice and provide a little more connectivity for people in that area. Was that parcel for a long time, and it hadn't developed for 15 years, and it finally did. Not without controversy, but that's standard. It's zoned high density residential. But yeah, it's good to see some of this housing being built and try to address this housing crisis that we have. What else is going on? What was I going to say? Yeah, don't have anything much going on for big applications at the moment. So,
Question. We had talked about like the B City, and then the CIC had heard a presentation from Xerxes, and has that been put on the commission agenda for any upcoming meetings, or has it been brought up at? Do you know? I haven't been watching the YouTube videos or going.
Yeah,
the past couple of months, but.
I've been asking. So what did we do? Yeah. So what we did was ask Parks and Public Works to kind of lead the charge on that, because they were the ones who originally were working with the mayor on the mayor's pledge.
That one's totally different though, and
I know.
Yeah.
And didn't get a lot of traction there. So my ask for the committee, I guess, or at least for anyone, would be to run it through PRAC again.
It hasn't gone through PRAC though.
Well, can you raise the issue at PRAC though?
Oh yeah, I can bring it up. That would be the first time. I guess my thought is like, it's the kind of thing where I don't know if Parks and or Public Works would like be invested in it if they didn't know that there was community support for it. And so bringing it to the commission would just be another vote representing like community support, because we have the NRC, we have CIC. And so I guess ideally like bringing it to like people who make the decisions,
right,
as much of the community's backing as possible, maybe.
Yeah. Well, Adam Marl I'm not sure if he's aware of it, but
yeah, I had spoken with him a couple of times, just kind of in passing about it.
Okay. Um,
And it sounds like the commission would be supportive, but I think having like a formal presentation would still help because I don't know if I don't know, Adam sounds supportive, but I don't know how much
okay,
is known about the Bee City program. And so just
Yeah.
providing the commission with the information that they need to make like an
Okay.
assessment of it instead of just being like, oh, invertebrate conservation sounds good. I mean, it's in some ways it's kind of an easy yes, but just giving like there are actual things that we'd have to do. It's not just like signing a piece of paper and
right. No, I know.
yeah.
There has to be a department invested in it and a staff person helping guide it. And planning, we tend to concentrate on regulating development as it is proposed, that sort of thing. So we get in that mode. And parks and public works actually manage publicly owned land, so they can but planning often tries to initiate something through those, and it really, like you say, it needs to have city commission support. So I think right now, Jared Lyman, our communications specialist, is sitting on the CIC.
Okay.
I didn't talk to him about it in a little more. I would recommend that you guys kind of reach out to your networks and promote it. If you want to make a 3-minute, if you want to phone into a city commission public comment period and raise the issue.
That's what I was thinking of doing, but I was hoping that it could just somehow.
And then we can get a formal presentation from Xerxes again. I think they offer it again.
Yeah, they're on board.
Yeah.
People who could do it.
And then, so that would be through the city recorder, Jacob, and city manager kind of holds the keys on the agenda items. So, but if it's just a presentation, it shouldn't be that controversial. So,
okay. I mean, ideally a presentation with the intent to solicit for a vote. And if that vote is in support, great. And if it's not, then, that's that. But
yeah.
Okay, so reach out to Jared Lyman. What specifically?
I would ask you to talk to Emma Worthke, but apparently she's found a job in Bend.
Yes.
Moving on. So, but yeah, so in the meantime, I would Jared's going to take over for Emma in the meantime, but I can send him an email and get the ball rolling as well.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I'm just unsure, like, what would I be asking him exactly?
Asking CIC?
No, I mean, it's already been presented to the CIC. So what exactly would I be?
What did the CIC say?
The CIC voted unanimously in support of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's already done. And
that's already done. Yeah. So we're good there. I guess I just don't want to I don't want to see the project lose momentum because that was
the momentum
3-4 months ago.
Right. So the momentum has to be to the city commission, right? And get
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Understood.
I mean, I can make public comment at a commission meeting. But is there anything else that would be?
Well, the best thing I know how to do is to send an email saying PRAC and CIC have already put their support behind the cities applying to be a Bee City USA.
Okay.
Please can we get this on the agenda before the city commission?
Okay. And I send that email to Jacob or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Do you want me to, I guess I'll CC you guys on that or?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that.
Thank you. And NRC supported it as well, right? So
yeah, PRAC hasn't given their. I figure, so PRAC hasn't seen the presentation yet.
Okay, so CIC and all right. Good question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all that info.
Yeah. All right. Well, fairly short meeting, guys.
Oh, hold on, Brian. It looks like you're talking, but you're on mute. Oh,
Thanks, guys. I got double mute, one on the mic, one on the thing. Okay, so I want to put in the notes. Well, I'm asking, is it appropriate to put into the notes that we agree as a committee the desire to become a B City USA? We've discussed this before, but I want to record it again. Is that right?
yeah, I think so.
I'm not a voting member, so I can't answer, but what you're saying sounds right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we did have a vote on it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we have. I just want to record it again. Dave, as a new member, do you have a opinion on this?
I don't have enough info, but it sounds good to me.
Okay, so that sounds like Dave also agrees with the committee that it's worth a worthwhile effort to try and become recognized as a B City USA with Xerxes.
Yeah, and,
Okay.
and I'll try briefly, Dave, to summarize what I think what it's
Sure.
about. It's about promoting habitat for invertebrates that are affected by pesticide use, and trying to promote pollination gardens, reduce pesticide use, educate the public. It's a very kind of broad program that is run by the Xerxes Society, through the Xerxes Society. And I don't know how many true B City USAs there are yet in Oregon. I thought maybe Eugene was one.
Yeah, Estacada just got their certification, Tualatin as well.
Right.
And yeah, there's a couple satellite cities.
So it's kind of a public commitment and a city commitment to throw some resources behind it, and even do demonstration projects on public property if the need arises. I believe Parks has talked about doing a pollination garden over the EOT into the Oregon Trail Center. Just a really, I mean, the ramifications of doing it on a large scale are really something, because, you know, plenty of people do this in their yard, but when you can promote it within public right of way and in public areas as well, you have that much more visibility, and you're just linking up the habitat and that sort of thing. So we encourage it, and that sort of thing, but it formalizes it when you get certification.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds like something I'd be 100% behind personally, and I'm certainly not going to disagree with the committee on much for now.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the other nice things. Really good. One of the other nice things about it is there's a ton of resources available. Like there's, you know, you can talk online with other cities, and integrated pest management is a big component of it, and kind of having a living document that outlines, you know, best practices to minimize like pesticide drift and, you know, usage. And a lot of cities have cut their pesticide use by like over 90%. And so that's one of the benefits, is just you have access to all these incredible resources, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Mm-hmm. And there's local resources too, which is especially nice, because the IPM is going to be a very local document.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to point out, just for Dave's benefit, but and also to say to this meeting, that the efforts to achieve this, let's call it certification, doesn't come at any cost to the taxpayers of this city, right? Like it's just something that the systems that are already in place can apply for. Am I saying that right, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that would come out of staff resources in the general fund of the city budget. It's not something we have to write a grant for, but there may be grant funding available through the program.
Sure.
And that sort of thing. Yeah, we're launching a new website sometime in September. We've migrated over some of the existing resources, and we created a pollinator garden web page and that sort of thing. But that's what the city has, and we've got a jumping off point to the Xerces Society, which is even broader if folks take the time to peruse that on the city via the city website. I don't know how many hits we're getting or anything like that, but it's really all about communication and getting the word out. And we do the Trail News, which is a quarterly printed magazine for things, and we can put articles in there. And then we have the e-Trail News, which comes out monthly now. And anybody who has access to a computer can sign up for that. So those are the ways that we would, disseminate that information.
Yeah, I guess what I want to say for the record is this is something that this committee can recommend and pursue without asking the taxpayers of Oregon City to do anything different than they're doing right now. And that's why I think this committee can wholeheartedly, in my opinion, recommend it.
Cool. Sounds good. Yep. All right. Thank you. And let's see, where are we at? So, does anybody have any more communications? If not, we would move on to future agenda items. And that will include revisiting I've lost my cursor. 1 second. There it is. Yeah, it would be revisiting the street tree inventory project and evaluating a tentative scope of work that staff will bring as a draft. So that would be old business. And then come back with an update on Bee City USA. And anything else that might happen between now and then. I'll talk to Nancy and Sam about, unless you guys have suggestions for agenda items for the next meeting that you would like to put forward now. But those 2 items would probably keep us pretty busy.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Well, on that note, if there's nothing further for the good of the order, as Doug Neely used to say, we are adjourned. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.